Hello and welcome to the Open News, the weekly show where we cover all things open source and tech. In today's episode we have some really interesting stories. We have everything from another European city going to Linux to a new piece of Android spyware. Stick around. Well, for our first news story we have this. Barcelona abandons Windows and Microsoft Office, goes with Linux instead. Well, this one is good here. Linux is about to be used in mass in yet another place. Now apparently Barcelona intends to switch both Windows, Microsoft Office and Exchange with Linux, LibreOffice and OpenExchange. Doubtless the motive here is to ditch Microsoft and other proprietary services to save money on subscription fees, but presumably there'd be other advantages to going Linux, such as increased security, increased immunity to malware and increased stability. All of which being important things with deployment in mass. Interestingly, in addition to using existing open source programs, Barcelona will actually hire programs to write software for them. We should bypass the issue of not having the correct software available on Linux. In fact, doing this may even prove cheaper than paying for Windows licenses and will be far more effective since the software should be purpose-made. The software being developed for Barcelona may be also used in other Spanish cities, hence saving even more money. All in all, I reckon this will end up a great decision. Just hopefully they don't end up dropping open source software after a few years like Munich and Vienna. But honestly, this sounds like it was well planned out, so I reckon it'll work out really well. Well, next up we have this. Smartphone spyware can steal WhatsApp messages from Android phones. Just a warning to all of you out there, especially people who heavily use mobile. Smartphones are not immune to malware. Now as for this virus specifically, it's just quite general spyware. It's been found on malicious Italian websites and has presumably been developed in Italy as well. Now this malware has the capability to effectively take remote control of a device. Take pictures and videos, log calls, log text, take business and calendar information, and most worryingly, take encrypted WhatsApp messages. Now apparently the way this malware can do this is by exploiting an Android accessibility feature. Now as I say, this is worrying because it's being increasingly proven that mobile is effectively no better than PC for immunity to malware. And once one of these things has become widespread, it's going to be disastrous purely because of how many people use smartphones. So what do I recommend you do? Well, make sure your phone is secured, that's what. Make sure you know what you're doing online, don't install apps from untrusted sources, especially don't install apps recommended by pop-ups, and you know what? Might even be time to consider installing a mobile antivirus. Well, time for the next story. Well, for our final story we have this. VirtualBox guest editions to be included in the Linux kernel. Yes, indeed, the guest editions are soon going to be included in the Linux kernel, presumably with version 4.16. Now, for those who don't know, this effectively means that when you run a Linux distribution with a kernel version 4.16 or later in VirtualBox, you won't need to install the guest editions. This is great because it removes the extra step involved with installing the guest editions manually. Now this is great for people who try out a lot of distributions in VirtualBox, as it cuts out the extra step of installing the guest editions. Should also be great for new VirtualBox users who may not necessarily know what the guest editions are. All in all, this is great news, but sadly it's still early days. Not every feature will be integrated yet. But either way, I'm still interested to see where this will go, and I think it's a great thing to include with the Linux kernel. Well, that's all we have time for today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and press that little bell icon to get notified of new uploads, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.